What if shame isn't just something you feel, but something you slowly become? Welcome back to Shit Creek Survivors. We share real stories of getting stuck up Shit Creek, the paddles we use to get out, and hope for anyone stuck up their own Shit Creek right now. We start this episode by me sharing my near-death experience, waking up from a 5-week coma, and walking through the long road of recovery that followed, while being joined by Morrighan Lynne, who's going to help me unpack why trauma reshapes identity, how self-criticism keeps us stuck, and why self-compassion is one of the most powerful tools for healing. As Morrighan breaks these ideas down, my story becomes the real-life backdrop, showing what these concepts look like when we're not just talking about healing, but actually living it. If you've ever struggled with shame, burnout, or the feeling that you're just not enough, this conversation is for you. I can't look ahead of me, but I realize I'm holding someone's hand. I look over to my right. Guess who it is? My grandma. And there's no pain. I looked ahead of me. I couldn't see what was ahead of me, except I was able to look down, and there was a golden road made out of golden bricks. And to my left was gray. And then when I looked behind me, it was pitch black, but there was people floating in the darkness, and they looked like they were in pain. They were in hospital beds and wheelchairs and just kind of like in isolation. And I turned to my grandma without moving my lips. I said, how is it they're so close to where pain doesn't exist, and they don't know we're right here? And that's right when I woke up to my wife slapping me in the face, pulling me out of a 5-week coma.
Oh my God.
Because if you go past 5 weeks, that's when your brain starts to get a little lazy. It's like we're being forced oxygen. I don't have to breathe anymore, which is, going on in our brains all the time. So against the doctor's wishes, she pulled me out of it. She had to slap me in the face for 8 hours, keep me breathing. And then that went on for quite a while. She had to teach me how to walk again. And I tell you what, I woke up and I was not happy. All the pain came back and all that kind of stuff. I didn't want to be here. I was right back into victimhood. I just wanted to get home. So they were like, we'll let you go home if you jump through these 3 hoops, in the next 2 weeks. And it was basically, I needed to bathe myself. I needed to walk upstairs, and I needed to use the restroom. And I got that done in a couple days. And I was like, get me out of here. I was just like,
done.
Just ready to get home. You know what I mean? And you find out in an extended hospital stay that everyone else, including the people who are telling you it's going to be okay, they get to go home at the end of the day. Even the nurses get to go home. Even the doctors get to go home. You're the person sitting there in the bed. So anyways, it was kind of a long process. And I came back about 3 months later. I decided I was a grown ass man, so I'm going to have a beer, and that turned into more, and that turned into more, and that turned into more. And within a couple months, I found myself going to a therapy appointment in the morning because I was doing 2 a week for PTSD. And I had been drinking already that morning. I'm on my way to the doctor's office, and I literally felt like God tapped me on the shoulder and said, I can't take you further than this. And it felt like it's now or never. And at that exact moment, and it turns out this is how this works with egos, my ego jumped out the window. I don't know where it went, but that voice that was telling me, screw them, they don't know, we've got this, we'll power through, we'll show them, gone. And it was just me. And I was terrified. And I got to my therapist appointment. She saw it on my face. She goes, what's wrong with you? I go, I'm drinking again and I'm scared. She goes, you're going to do 3 things if you're going to keep working with me. 1 is you're going to call your wife, who's at work, and tell her to get the bottles of alcohol that you're hiding at home. 2 is you're going to go to your parents' house because I need you to go somewhere that's not a bar and not a grocery store. And 3 is you're going to an AA meeting tonight. And I did all those 3. I got to keep working with her. She was a top therapist in St. Louis while I was up there. I actually got shot during the Ferguson, Missouri stuff. If you remember, 10 years ago, 2 officers got shot. I was one of those guys. And so, the alcohol thing, I had to fix the alcohol thing through AA, do the program, went in there. Of course, the guy with the head down saying, I don't have a problem. You guys have a problem. I heard there's an allergy to alcohol. I'm like, that's it. I can beat an allergy. But, and then they were like, you need a higher power. I'm like, no, it doesn't exist. I was so toxic again. And it got to the point where an old guy looked at me. He goes, fine. The chair next to you is now your higher power. And I go, why is that, old guy? And he's like, because that chair is making better decisions than you.
Damn.
I'm like, damn.
The
And
shame.
I was salty about it, but that's how it goes. And then I started hearing
Yeah.
people tell stories that I would never expect anyone to share. They were embarrassing. They could, in my mind, be embarrassing. They could bring shame on your family. It's not a good thing to be in public. That's your personal business. Why aren't you keeping it to yourself? But then I
Mhm.
started hearing myself in these stories.
Mm.
And it wasn't just about alcohol. It was like how we think and the extremes and all that kind of stuff. And I started kind of accepting little bits and pieces, but I was very guarded with all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And I just hit 9 years sober. So over those 9 years, it has been a day to day, moment to moment process. No one
Yeah.
ever kind of gets sober and it clicks perfectly in place. I got to stay on
Yeah.
top of my stuff. So, long story short, I had a lot of time to process what had happened to me and why it might have happened to me,
Yeah.
and if I had any responsibilities related to what had happened to me. And
Yeah.
I don't, I, I found myself sharing my story kind of in random bits and places. Like I was doing deliveries. I'm in Atlanta now. God did
Mm.
for us what we couldn't do for ourselves. And my wife actually lost her job while I was in the hospital.
Yeah.
And she's like, I can't lose my job. They're like, well, we have a promotion for you, but it's down in Atlanta. You got to be there in 30 days, ready to rock. So we did what God told us to do. We sold our house. We got straight down here. We didn't even see the apartment we were moving into. We just did it. And it is one of
Mhm.
the best things that's ever happened to me. Um,
Wow.
yeah, when I first got down here and someone held the door for me, I literally bladed off. I'm like, what do you want? Because that's the atmosphere in St. Louis. It's like it was full on like tension in the air. And all they wanted to do is just hold the door. And
Yeah.
over time, now I'm the one holding the door.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of me just cracking and, just a bit of me shifted, which made different angles more apparent to the
Yeah.
situation I was looking at very one-eyed. I was able to
Yeah.
kind of over time get more of an overhead view and more of an overhead view and see that I was actually sick, like not only PTSD, but, with the alcohol and that sort of stuff. Because you don't know how sick you are until you get healthier. And then you
No.
look back, you're like,
Yeah.
whoa. And it's funny
Yeah.
at that moment, you're like, I'm good. And then you just keep growing and you keep going
Yeah.
through stuff. And it's a never ending process, but we're starting to figure out that's a good thing
Mhm.
and to lean into it, to talk about it. I think originally we were going to talk to mainly, I imagine, police and military, but it's taken off in so many different directions. And again, I think I was not spiritually connected, even like when I don't know, it just keeps growing and growing because amazing things keep happening. Like I
Yeah.
literally was up here editing a video within our first couple of months and someone knocks on the door. I'm like, what do you want? He's like, I just sprayed your front yard for weeds. Let me get in that backyard. And I'm like, you're at the wrong house. And he goes, no, I'm at the right house. And I go, no, you're at the wrong house. Check your paperwork. He goes, I'm at the wrong house, but I do have a Shit Creek survivor story. And I go, what's that? He goes, I was a high level cocaine dealer in downtown Atlanta. Now I'm
Oh
in
my gosh.
seminary school. And I'm like, holy smokes. So
That
we
is
had
night
him
and day.
on.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And we've even had a guy who was an apprentice under Patch Adams and he does missionary trips, clowning trips all over
Yeah.
the world and
Yeah.
gets to talk to people and all that kind of stuff. So really the whole idea is, people come on, they share their experience of being in a shit creek, how they got out, um, what they would say to someone who's suffering right now and kind of like how your definition of resilience has kind of grown over time and that sort of stuff. But
Mhm.
really, I want to hear about you because you've got a
Mhm.
lot of experience in this, right? Like you deal with
Oh,
trauma, you
I've
deal
had a
with people
few
getting
Schitt's Creeks moments. Yeah.
and and I find that there is a moment in every story where it seems to go from victimhood to
Mhm.
responsibility,
Mhm.
where it's nothing's going to change. So you have to be the horse willing to drink the water. You've been taken to it, but now's the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, we're just trying to figure out and discuss that moment that it's not, I wouldn't say like a light switch, but there is a moment where you're like, I'm not living like this anymore.
Yeah.
and it just kind of comes, and you run with it, and you stop worrying at all of a sudden about what people might be saying as they look at you, or is this embarrassing? You just start living, you start running forward,
Mhm.
and I think you probably have a lot of experience in that because,
Mhm.
the realm that you work in isn't,
Mhm.
um, we don't discuss it enough until someone absolutely needs it, and
That's
that's
right.
where I found myself. And one more quick thing about my story, God saved me with this whole thing. I would never take back being shot because I was sober now. I was doing better with my PTSD from the gunshot,
Yeah.
but I was at the end of my rope. Like I felt like I was going to be part of the stats. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I might
Yeah.
actually take my own life. And so I walked into my therapist appointment and I said to her, I got something I've never discussed with anybody. I need to know if it matters. And she goes, "What's that?" And I go, "At 5 years old, me and my buddy were taught an adult game by his mom's boyfriend, and we played it quite a bit. And when he found out that my dad was in the DEA, so a police officer, we were in Curacao off the coast of Venezuela. It's
Mhm.
ABC Islands, Aruba, Bonaire,
Mhm.
Curacao. And what happened is he told my friend that if I told my family, first off, the classic, your family will disown you.
Right.
God doesn't love you,
Right.
right? Um, and then he put on top of that, I'll kill your mom.
Yeah. Gotta get all the angles to, like, instill that fear in there.
And I'm still untangling it. But right when I said it, because I had kept that secret for 30 years.
Wow.
And when it came out of me, it was like I was standing there 5 years old. Like it
Right.
had just happened, like pouring,
Right.
the sobbing where your chest is going, like the little kid cry, when your like
Mhm.
belly's hurting and it's like deep
Mhm.
down. It just came rushing out. And I didn't realize how much it mattered. I kind of like had pushed it down. I've been like, this happens to
Right.
everybody. Or actually, I believed a lot of I'm dirty and I'm shameful.
Yeah.
Um, and I've had to learn a lot about it. And the show has definitely helped. The idea that shame is an identity, guilt is a feeling. So
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
was consistently, I didn't realize it my whole life, rebelling against the idea that I'm a sinner. But every time I was told I was wrong by someone or not reaching a standard, it would hit me hard.
Right.
Right. But no one really understood that. It was all going on inside of me. So it's taken a while to kind of unwind it because we learned with trauma, it tends to tangle. So you may have like a traumatic event like being shot, but it gets stored
Yeah.
in the same place as the little kid memory. It gets tangled. And then in order to fully process the shooting, I had to untangle the bit that was the childhood trauma.
Right.
And it was a definitely scary thing to do. The first it was so deep in me that I cried when I told my wife and promised her, like, I wasn't gay. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was
Yeah.
so embedded in there,
Yep.
and it just, hurt and everything like that, but it turns out there's a lot of men and women who are dealing with these memories.
Mhm.
And just by me sharing mine, we got a couple people reaching out being like, I'm so glad you talked about this. This isn't
Mhm.
something I would ever imagine talking to somebody with. I've had friends in the middle of a golf game pull me aside and be like, hey, can I talk to you for a second?
Yeah.
And then, just saying this does matter, it does
Yeah.
matter. And it may have been more powerful than you think. Like I literally got shot, and the first thing I thought in my head was, I haven't loved enough people to get to heaven.
Wow.
S-
Wow.
So that was like a little kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought I was dead. Like I thought I was dead. I looked up at the guy next to me. I said, "Did I just get shot in the blanking face?" And he goes, "Officer down, officer down." If you get shot in the face, you're like, I thought I had gotten hit by a bat. I thought someone had stuck up next to me.
Oh, yeah.
But it turns out this guy shot me out of his sunroof. He shot me and another officer out of his sunroof, which is pretty amazing. But
Wow.
but anyway, so that's where the idea, like the whole concept came to be. And after I
Mhm.
kept going through these things and I kept opening the door to things I didn't want to do, and I kept getting relief in places I didn't know I would get relief.
Yeah.
And in doing so, helping other people, it became it became something super positive over the last year. We've released 54 episodes. We do one a week. We didn't miss a week last year. And yeah, that's our plan moving forward. I hope that wasn't too much to kind of like just,
No,
smack you in the face with, but that
no,
I just want you to know where I'm coming from,
I love it.
and
No,
uh,
I appreciate it. Yeah, there's just kind of following along with you, just I see why you're doing what you're doing. Like, I see not that it happened for this, but I see the gift of how you're doing this because of that, and that
yeah,
helps untangle your own trauma because every time you get to model for others and be the space for others, like how you were saying, just because you're speaking it is allowing other people to speak it, I feel like is part of the ongoing gift of the hard times. Like, I feel like we're in this together. And so there's a
yeah.
lot of value and benefit in not that it happened to you, because that sucked, but how you've taken it and what you've done with it is really valuable.
I got to the point where I'm like, I'm either gonna do this, and my dad had just died too. So I was like,
My
because I tried
goodness.
to write a book and I just wasn't
Honey.
ready. Like it's like I can't figure
Wow.
out when I'm ever gonna write a book because every month I change.
Yeah.
And I keep looking back at the last month. I'm like, whoa, like because you don't think there's room for growth because you're on top of your stuff, and then you just keep
It's
growing and all
always.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the way life's supposed to be. You're supposed to be growing, and
Yeah.
when you're growing, you're usually being challenged. So it's changed that whole mindset, which is not easy from like why me to why not me, and like
Yeah.
and kind of moving that way. But one of the key paddles for me ended up being faith. um, that's what helped me get sober. I had to
Yeah.
have a higher power. I could not do it alone. And it
Mhm.
actually worked. The promise
Mhm.
actually worked. I was on my hands and knees, so desperate. I don't know what to do, curled up in a ball. And
Mhm.
then suddenly things changed because I tried. Um,
Good job.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
No,
well, I don't. And
good
it's
job.
just
You're
so
here, right?
crazy.
Yeah, you did it. You did it. You're doing it. It, yeah, it has a purpose. It's a this and that situation for me, like, because I do deal with trauma with people and my own trauma, of course, because I'm on my own journey.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of this and that happens in
Mhm.
this. Like, that happened and that is valid and that hurt. And what am I going to do about it? And what do I get to do with it? And so there's a lot of like wiggle room in that space for me. So,
Yeah.
not to minimize that it hurt, because I think that's sometimes a lot of what we do. We go, well, that's over with and whatever, I'm over it. And let me just focus
Hmm.
on positive. But then that still festers. So it has to be within the same arena of awareness, like that and this. So I think that actually facilitates the healing a lot more, with more ease, with more fluidity.
That's really interesting because my new stage of growth appears to be feeling feelings that I had buried because now I'm safe enough to feel them,
You have capacity.
which is like such not a bummer, but you're like
That's
it
kind of a
happened
bummer.
it happened right
It's
around
okay that it's a
Christmas.
bummer. It is a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it happened right around Christmas, and I was like, so I had to like untangle this whole thing. I talked to my therapist about it too. I was like, I understand like I'm not missing this person.
Yeah.
I'm missing the time and how I felt at that time, whether it was a
Yeah.
false sense of control or maybe I did have control. You know what I mean? Because I was imagining things in college. And I'm like, why am I getting
Yeah.
triggered by things in college? Like,
Yeah.
I haven't thought about this forever.
Yeah.
And then so it turns out to be situations and times where you maybe, and it was probably not the other person's intention, you kind of it hit the sore spot that you had. So you remember it, You're like, I didn't like that or that sort of stuff. Anyways, I just yeah, it's pretty interesting the way things work as you
It's really
get
the
going.
wisdom. I feel like it's the wisdom of how we are designed. When you're in the storm, when you're in the fight or flight of it, when you're in the survival mode, your system is only designed to survive. So you're not going to notice past trauma. You're only going
Yeah.
to notice the immediate threat. So when you're in fight or flight and you're in that survival mode. We're designed to only look at that. Our vision narrows and like pinhole tunnel vision, that's the threat. Let's do
Yeah.
that. When you are able to access other things like those memories or you get triggered or something that you forgot way back in the past starts coming up, it's the good news about the bad news. The bad news is it there, but the
Hmm.
good news means you have the capacity now to hold that trauma. Your system is no longer in the threat. It's no longer in survival mode. It's actually in the rest and it has capacity. So it literally opens. And then
Hmm.
this wound that has been waiting for its turn goes, ah, I think you're ready for me now. And so
Yeah.
then it'll come up and it'll go, now it's my turn. And so it sucks. And I am very aware, like, again, it's not to minimize the pain of it, but it is to celebrate that you're out of the threat, out of that fight or flight, or you wouldn't be remembering things like that.
Yeah. And I noticed that the one thing that it really it felt like I needed to do was not like identify and like label and tag and put in a certain place. It was like I actually let myself and went to it and let myself feel the feelings.
That's
Be
key.
and instead of just kind of being like, "Oh, that's interesting," or "That's a bummer, don't think about that," or "Move on, move on, move on." It was like, "What if I just feel this feeling?"
Yeah.
And if it's sad, just kind of like let it wash over me. I had a guest on who's a 10 plus stroke survivor, and he is, obviously going through a lot continuously. He isn't able to do a lot with his body, but he was saying something to the same effect. Like, I can't help if I feel sad, but I can feel it and let it wash over me. And I know I'm going to be okay. When
Mhm.
And I heard that, I'm like, have I been guarding myself from even feeling these things? And so
Mhm.
it kind of gave me a little bravery to be like, what if I just sit with it, just one of them,
Mhm.
just for a minute?
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it helped like resolve it a little bit. Like
Yeah. It
even
does.
even after like 5 minutes, I was like, oh, it doesn't hurt as bad. It feels like it's processing instead of me like
Yeah.
I a problem that I have, and I think a lot of guys do it, and I'm sure a lot of people do it, is they try to fix their problem on their own. And then they go to someone who might have some expertise or some information and they ask, how did I do? Instead of, what should I do?
Yeah. Or what else do I get to do? Because I think you're right. I think we kind of internalize a lot of shame of, I'm going to have to tell this person my story. They're going to know it. I don't want them to know it. Like that shame doesn't want to come out. And
Yeah.
honestly, like in my work, I call that alchemizing. Like alchemizing the emotion is, or an
Mm,
alchemizing the shame is simply allowing yourself to just hold it, feel it, and witness it because it's in the witnessing. That's all the wound wants. Whatever the wound is, whatever the memory or the age or the event, it just wants to be acknowledged, just wants to feel valid and safe enough to express itself. Like it's
yeah.
almost like a version of you that's kind of locked in that timeline. And that little boy maybe is kicking and screaming to get out, but nobody's listening. So once he finally comes out and you're able to listen, all he wants to do is to hear that it's okay. That wasn't your fault. I've
Hmm.
got you now. Like I've got you now, like to reparent that child. So it's alchemizing the shame of it because there is a witness, a holding, and then that allows it to shift. It doesn't have to stay in that status anymore, in that kind of like holding pattern. It gets to move on too, because wounds are designed to want to move on, but we hold them. We
Is
lock
that what
them
it is?
down. Like we don't want to look at them. So
And is
yeah.
that like fear of feeling it, fear of what it might
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, it's a lot of things. It's a lot of it's a lot of societal programming of like you said, like men are taught that emotions make you weak in general, of course. Men are taught that. Women are taught don't get angry because that makes you unattractive. So we have like varying degrees of how we're trained to be in this world, but it
Right.
all comes down to value. And so like if you feel that shame, it's definitely gonna hit, like, "I'm not good. I'm not a good person. I'm not valuable." We don't want that because that feels crappy. So we try to
Mm,
stave off that feeling so that we don't question our value. But the
mhm.
thing is value is innate. It's not it doesn't move up and down on a scale, but we live in a society that teaches us you're only valuable if you're good, you're not valuable if you're bad. And so we kind of compartmentalize this game of who's good and who's not, and then it ties into our emotions and our trauma, and we don't let ourselves feel it. Like it's insidious.
So is there a time where I'm trying to figure out, even in my example, was there a time where instead of me feeling my own value, I actually changed and only saw my value through other people's eyes?
It's possible, right? Because the I feel like the journey of unraveling that is unraveling the masks and the roles and the identity markers, like, "I am this, that makes me good. I am this makes me good." Like, we get a lot of those, like, status value markers.
Yeah.
Those aren't real. And so when you have a tragedy or an upset or something that questions those false value markers, now we feel worthless. So
Mhm.
part of the journey, how I work with people is to it's okay to be good at something. It's okay to want that. It's okay to be a good partner, a good friend, a good like at your job, yada yada. But it doesn't mean if it goes away, you lose your value. Like, that gets
Mhm.
to stay intact, and these are just the things we do, not what we be. And I think that's where
Mm.
we get confused, is we make them be our value, not, "This is what I do, and I love it, and I'm really good at it." So when
Yeah.
we lose those things, because essentially anything you put your value in that's external can go away.
Yeah.
Like, "I need this makes me valuable." Well, that thing can go away in a blink of an eye. Now that means my value is gone, and so just learning that that's not true, to call back the value and, like, claim it for what it is, and then these are the lovely things that I do, and if they go away, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Really well said. Because when I lost my job, it's like I lost my identity. You know,
Exactly.
it was like, who am I now? I'm a police
Exactly.
officer. And then for years following being shot and no longer being a police officer, I'd run into a stranger and be like, yeah, I'm a former police officer. I got shot in the fate tenant. You know what I mean? It was just like spontaneous, just like,
Right.
this is who I am. Yeah. And now
Exactly.
that, now that I hear myself say it, I think I was trying to convince myself, like part of me was wanting to hold on to that. And so
Yeah.
that's, yeah. So I wanted to identify. And that gets really hard, really
Yeah.
hard to separate. And I think childhood trauma plays a part in, at least for me, because like when I graduated college, I graduated in '05. I got a sales position. I ended up opening my own company. It was McKay Marketing. I had like 20 employees.
Mhm.
And then '08 hit and no one was, you know, being frivolous with any money, even though we were selling like office supplies and stuff. I had to shut it down. And when I shut it down, I felt like a failure. And I
Right.
believe that I was trying to like offset what had happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
We're trying to
if
prove our value.
prove, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because inside you think people see you the way that you see yourself.
Right.
And you almost like, for me especially after I got hurt, I was talking for people, no one was calling me saying, hey, you're a loser, you know get off your ass and get back in the seat or anything like it. Never. But I
Sure.
was imagining that's what people were thinking.
Yeah.
um I would go to the grocery store, I'd have a tough time, like I would imagine that a person was commenting on me and how I don't know, I was just super sensitive to everything. So I was like creating scenarios where almost people were being mean to me. It,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
For
then
me,
and
that
it
goes to the core wound. So there's a core wound, there's a first wound. And you
mm,
could say, and it's different for everyone, of course, and it affects everyone differently, but everyone has a core wound. and it's usually the first wound. And you could say it's that 5-year-old boy. You could like that could be the core wound. It's anywhere in any part of our early life. It could even be in utero. You don't even have to be born yet. I mean, that's how deep it goes.
Really?
It's a wound that says, "Oh, I must not be good enough. They are saying I'm not good enough," or in words or not so many words. It just depends. I don't feel worthy, but our spiritual self knows that's not true. We're like, "No, that's not true. I know I'm worthy." So now we have almost I'm going to show them I'm worthy. I'm going to prove it,
Yeah.
but without actually healing the wound. And so now it becomes, I'm going to go out into the world and prove this person is wrong. And so
Hmm.
now we are behaving as if we don't have value. We're afraid that people are going to see that we don't have value. So we're going to overwork to prove our value. This is actually
Um,
what develops in early childhood and then in our teenage and young adult. And now the issue, I think this is just what humanity is about. We have set ourselves up to, we think it's personality. We think, well, this is what I'm about. I am this. I'm going to be successful at this thing and I'll show everyone that blah, blah, blah. But we also have the wound still saying, well, you're not good enough.
mm,
You know, they're probably right. So it's this weird vacillating battle of you're not good enough. Yes, I am. And so it ends up being this fight inside the person. So
hmm.
that's why we go out with identity markers. Well, I'm a police officer. See, I am valuable. I am doing good things. No, you're not. Oh,
Mm,
I'm going to be a husband and I'm going to provide and I'm a good. No, you're not. So it's always, that's the voice. It's always talking to you, telling you how you aren't quite living up to your expectations, which
hmm.
is why then you think people think that about you because it's actually your own voice.
Yeah. And then you end up quitting something that maybe you wouldn't have quit without, you know, that
Making a lot of
information.
decisions, yeah.
Yeah, we make a lot of decisions on our own. Um, yeah, I found out that being in my head alone is actually a very dangerous place to be. And I
For
thought,
sure.
and
It's not
I,
fun.
and I, I,
Not a
I
fun
thought
place.
I thought I was good at it, but the truth is,
Yeah,
I mean, just look at like any addiction or like AA. Nobody would be there if they could handle it. You know,
right.
nobody would be in those rooms. So it's powerful. And you know, if we could solve our own problems, we'd be walking around perfect, I guess. But doesn't look like anyone has got that down yet. And
Well, no, because we also, in our complexity of being human, we also have a sort of guardian that keeps you from seeing your blind spots. So it makes it very difficult to do all of that work on your own, which is why,
mm,
like I tell people all the time, coaches need coaches, healers need healers, teachers need teachers, because
yeah.
we just can't see all of our stuff. It's a protector
Hmm.
and it just kind of it puts the blinders up in the psyche so that you don't see all the things, and so it makes it very difficult to see the things you want to shift. So you
Hmm.
need somebody on the outside that's not emotionally attached to your story to go, hey, I'm noticing that you said this thing, and then that might
Hmm.
unlock something for you. But yeah, I geek out over it because we're just so beautifully complex about it, but yet we're all striving for the same simplicity of wanting to be loved, wanting to be received, like being accepted and then healing these spaces in us. So the formula becomes very the formula is the same no matter the wound because it's simple.
Yeah.
Mhm.
y- Yeah. Yeah. Healing is not easy, but it is
Mm,
necessary. And then
for
once you do it, you feel empowered. You're like, I'm going to go show somebody else how to do this. Like,
that's
yeah,
that's that's what I did. Yeah.
tell me about it. So, what
Yeah.
happened to you that kind of projected you into, wanting to help others? Because it seems
Oh
to be
gosh.
contagious. You know.
Yeah. I think well and I think it's how would I say this? I feel like we are service oriented beings. Like we
Hmm.
are in this oneness, even though we're very individualized in our egoic self. That's what the ego provides is individualism, right? I think that when we find something cool, we want to go share it. And that depends on what that is, right? So,
Mhm.
um I think my life in that context is a slow burn. It's been a slow burn of having a narcissist mother, having a sexually inappropriate stepdad, married a narcissist, best friends with a narcissist, dated other narcissists. Like there's a theme, and I feel like once there's a pattern, I love pattern work. Once there's a pattern, that's yours.
Mhm.
That's a something in me is calling forth these people
Yeah.
to help me uncover the wound, that core wound, right? So this is the mastery of humanity is we're calling in these experiences to help uncover the thing that really wants to be seen.
Yeah.
And so we're calling in these experiences as familiar, like same energy, different face. We just have these repeat patterns of people. So I started my business almost 20 years ago, wanting to do readings and connect to the angels and all of that, like fluffy bunny, rainbows and unicorns stuff. But then life takes a turn and it got a little deeper. I started doing some shadow work with myself, and I got trauma certified, like being able to like walk people into those real delicate. I like to go into the scary places. Like I'm not afraid, and I like to take people in there with me because I do see how hard it is to be able to
Mhm.
do that on your own. Like it's near impossible. I can't even see all the things I want to see about myself just because of that protection is in place.
Yeah.
Um, but then it all came crashing down about 3, 4 years ago when I hit burnout. Is essentially what happened. I am a recovering people pleaser,
Mhm.
and I didn't realize that I was people pleasing in my business, and I had hit the 2 most successful years of my business, and I couldn't keep it together. I couldn't make everyone happy. People were squabbling, they were fighting, they were leaving, they were mad at me. I couldn't keep it together. And then burnout comes in and it says, "You're not gonna be able to do this anymore. So we're gonna
Mhm.
go ahead and take it away from you because you're not doing well." So it
Mhm.
felt like everything got stripped away. And for about a year and a half, a little bit over that, I did nothing but decide, do I have the energy to shower today or do I want to actually make myself some lunch today? Because I
Mhm.
didn't have the capacity to do both.
Yep.
So burnout is like, yeah, it sucks. It's so hard. And it's not talked about enough. Like going back to your original comment, I really feel like we misunderstand what burnout is. We think it's, oh, I need a vacation, or, oh, I just worked a little hard last month and I need a break. Burnout is a complete identity crisis because everything that you think you are is stripped. And it says, no, you're none of that. So how
Mhm.
I was identifying with being a people pleaser, that was my survivor. That's how I survived my whole life.
Right.
And even though like consciously I knew that I was doing it, I did not understand all of the tendrils in my life that it was controlling. So it wasn't until burnout just kind of like ripped it out of me that I had to see all of the spaces that it was.
Mhm.
I was fooling myself. I was fooling myself, and so it had to. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
it's almost like a being to me. It's almost like a divine being that's like, "Oh, honey, you're not you're not doing well and you're not getting it, and so I'm gonna help you get it. But it's gonna hurt and you're just gonna have to sit with this until you figure it out." And
Mhm.
so I shut down my business. Everything went away. I still have a little touch of that emotion around it because it gets very dark right there.
Yeah.
And questioning whether or not I want to be on the planet anymore and questioning
Mhm.
everything value. I have no value. If I can't make people happy, that's my value. Well, then I have no value. So then why should I even exist? So it
Yeah.
breaks down really fast right there, which I'm sure with your story you can relate in
Yeah.
your own way, right?
Yeah, it's when the back door kind of gets opened. You're like
Whew. Yeah,
and you see it as an option. You're like,
yeah,
"That's there." You know what I mean? So now you've backed into it and you're
100%.
like, "It's there if I need it." And it's crazy how we can
Yep.
almost find comfort in that because it's
Yeah,
an option, but it's a very unhealthy option. It's a permanent option, and, we're
totally,
losing way too many people to a quick decision that's forever.
totally.
And, anyone out there listening who's struggling right now, you are not alone. You're just like us, and we are just
Yeah,
trying to do our best to make the best decisions on a daily basis to find peace and joy. Um,
that's it.
yeah, we're trying to not focus on the things that we hold or that we carry because there's never been a U-Haul behind a hearse, and so I know we get caught up in that a lot in these days. And
Mm.
anyways, I don't want to sidetrack too much, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm
no,
sorry
that's
that you found yourself there where that became sort of an option, but it's
yeah,
natural, I think, to like to be there, and you're not alone. We never talk about this, do we? We never talk about how people get to these places because you know, you want to be able to say, I am lost. I don't know what to do right now.
yeah,
But if you were to say the words, I'm thinking of quitting, it changes the whole situation. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It changes how you look at me. It changes the way like we're going to interact from here on out, so
yeah.
we keep it very close to us and all those kinds of things. But I'm so glad that you were able to kind of push through it. How did you?
Ooh, I had I gave myself one rule
Hmm.
to I allowed myself to hate the situation, and I
Hmm.
hated it. It was the hardest thing I've ever gone through, but the rule was I was not allowed to hate myself for being in it.
Hmm.
And so those thoughts, when those thoughts come in and it wants to say things like, "This is all your fault, and you're a
Hmm.
horrible person, and how could you do," like, "You should have done better," all that, all the voices, I would go, "No, that's not true. I'm not listening to that." So I built a muscle, which over time, I'm just not gonna believe that. That's not true. I'm not allowed to think that way. So I hated it. It was horrible. I do not recommend it for anyone. Um, but I was not allowed to hate myself for it. And I actually think my theory is that because of that rule, the healing process was efficient. It had momentum because I
Hmm.
feel like you're already moving through this like insurmountable mountain of whatever you're going through. It does not do any good to add your stuff on top of it, your judgment, your shame, your criticism. It doesn't add anything to it. It actually just adds to the mountain. And
Yeah.
so one of the things I do with people is like, you can hate it and you can be struggling and yes, grieve and feel and do all of that, but don't hate yourself for it because
Hmm.
I see how like when I talk to people that have been in burnout, they're like, "Oh yeah, I spent 15 years there." And I'm like, "15 years of your life there? Like there's no way." I was there for about 14, 16 months,
Hmm.
like in the throes of it. Like there was a recovery time as well, but the hardest part was about a year and a half. And then I think it's because I just didn't add to the pile.
Yeah.
So lots of care, lots of practicing like capacity. So what I mean by that is I got very good at knowing basically my battery for the day.
Hmm.
So if I needed to get something done for the day, or if I looked at my calendar, I would feel into my capacity. If it was at 20% and I needed 50% of energy for that day, I'd have to start canceling things.
Hmm.
So it was of the highest priority like attune myself to that capacity only, not the obligation, not the stress, not the pressure of like what people are going to think. I had to
Hmm.
pull away from all of those requirements and obligations that society tells us makes a good person. Because
Mhm.
if you keep your word and you show up for people, you're a good person, right? I had to pull away from all of those identity markers and just take care of myself, which for a
Mhm.
people pleaser was excruciating
It
because
it's
we're
hard
last
to
on the list.
even. Yeah. Well, yeah, I could imagine that, but to be that honest and then disciplined afterwards with I'm not allowed to hate myself. That
Yeah.
is a hard thing to do
Yeah.
because the first thing most people do, including myself, is like, I'll even in the beginning, yeah, I'll go straight into myself like, you shouldn't even be here. This is all
That's
your
right.
fault, you blanking loser. You know what I mean? It's just
That's
like,
right.
and it just hurts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just like, it's like beating myself up and then having to walk away with the wounds and just be like, well, that didn't do anything. So the fact that you were able to discipline yourself enough to do that, that
Yeah.
is encouraging.
Yeah.
Um,
And it is a muscle. It didn't come easily, but it's so I believe in trust is built through consistency.
mhm,
So if I want to trust myself that I'm going to get through this, I have to show up for myself in a consistent way, which means not beating myself up about the thing that I didn't even know was going to happen, because that's also the truth as well. Like,
mhm,
we get to give ourselves some grace around, we didn't know that was going to happen. We didn't have the awareness to make a different decision. We know now because we're in the ramifications of that lack of
right,
knowledge, but can we give our past version a little grace and compassion that they didn't know? She didn't know she was going to get into burnout. Why would I go back and beat her up about it? That does no
right.
good. No good.
Yeah. That took me a long time to get.
Yeah.
Um, and it's something I still definitely work on. I have to watch my inner monologue and like how that's going. And um, I do notice that my monologue varies depending on how well I'm taking care of myself. So am I
Yes.
meditating? You know, am I working out? Am I eating the right food?
Yeah.
Am I staying spiritually connected? Am I talking to my family? Am I going to my AA meetings? You know, all that kind of stuff. And it all matters. I hate that it does, but I do find that I have a better week when I take care of all those things that I know make me better, like more
Yeah.
peaceful and just kind of more docile. Because a lot of times my problem is I'll go on, like, say, we went up to St. Louis for Christmas, and I don't know why I do it, but almost every single time I'm like, I don't need to meditate for the next 3 days. And somewhere in those 3 days, there's a meltdown.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
just, it's crazy. But
And I think the
I,
mastery really sorry, I think the mastery really is, okay, you're doing all of the things that feel good, so it feels good, so there's value because we're like, "I did all the things," so that's not a bad thing, just that's also part of the value game. Like, I did all the things I know that work for me, so I am good, this is why I feel good.
mm,
The mastery is being able to be kind to yourself when you're not.
mm, yeah.
That's the key is, yes, of course, go take care of self, but what if there are times when you can't or won't or don't? Can you
Mhm.
still be kind even in those moments? Like, that's the stretch. That's the key.
That reminds me of something. So I do something to myself and it just seems silly after I look back at it, but I do it all the time. I'll sit and plan at night for the next day. And I'll be like,
Mm.
"Ooh, tomorrow's gonna be good." You know, I'm waking
Right.
up at 6. We're gonna get a morning prayer in. We're gonna get a morning meditation.
Yeah.
I'm gonna work out at, like 8. I'm gonna be editing or doing my work by like 9:30, 10. This is gonna be amazing. And then I wake up and I don't get any of it done right away. So it's almost like like right away I feel terrible about myself. I'm like, I've already screwed up the day,
That's right.
and then I'm like,
That's right.
so then I go plan for tomorrow. That
Yeah.
night I'm
We're
like, all
gonna
right,
we're
we'll
gonna
get
get
it.
it tomorrow and
We're
it's
gonna
gonna
get
be
it tomorrow.
better.
And kind of I was thinking about that when you were talking because it's almost like, am I actually saying, you know, I'll be the person I want to be if I'm able to do these things.
Yeah, that's
And
what
since
I'm
I'm
saying. It's a bit of a value. It's a value game. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the value game.
so every day I disappoint myself. I'm like, well, don't have it together yet. Once I can do all these things, then I'll have it together.
Exactly. And it's
And
not wrong. Like, please hear me when I say, like, please strive to be a happy person. Like, do the things that make you happy.
yeah.
The key is not equating your value to it. Go
Mm,
do the things or not do the things, but it doesn't make your value wobble. That's If your value is dependent upon getting your task list done, you're in the game. You're in that
Mm,
value game of I'm only good if I do these things. And it's sneaky that way.
mhm,
So like for me, it's more about capacity. It's more about waking up in the morning or even at night. I'll do the same thing at night and go, okay, tomorrow I want to do this, ain't this, yada, yada, yada. Got it. But then when I wake up in the morning, it's like, okay, I wanted to do all these things. Do I have the capacity for that?
mm,
Do I have the space? Do I have the energy? Do I have the desire? Maybe my desires have changed. Like, so maybe I don't want to do that thing and I want to do this instead. So, like, can there be like a presence with your
mhm.
energetic self and permission to deviate from the plan that says you're a good person if you do these things?
Yeah.
Like it's the gentle hook that has you hooked into the game.
That's I'm in the game. I don't wanna be in the game, and it's funny
It's
when you know
okay,
you're in the
yeah.
game, you're just like, why am I doing this to myself?" I've definitely talked to my therapist about it, and
Yeah.
yeah, same sort of stuff, like setting it's like the idea, do I set myself up to fail, you know? And, yeah, I need to work on that gentle and kindness, but that comes with time, like you said, it's a
Yeah.
muscle and an intentional muscle too, you know what I mean?
It's
It's not something
intentional.
that happens passively, it's yeah, you gotta do
Nope.
it.
You still practice it every day. I still practice it every day. It's easier now, of course, because I just don't like the feeling in my body when I use language like that. Like now
Mhm.
I'm attuned to how it feels and the habitual like, "Oh my god, you're such a ding dong," or "Oh my god, you're so dumb." Nope. As soon as I feel that, I'm like, "Oh, no, we don't do that anymore. We no, honey." I do the "oh, honey" thing like, "Oh, honey, we don't do that. That's not who we are anymore. We're not doing that anymore." And so just having a boundary around it kind of
Yeah,
re-solidifies my intention, but it's definitely a muscle that has to be nurtured
yeah,
and consistent, not perfect. We're not going for perfection, which is opposite of the deal we're trying to do. Like there's no
yeah,
perfection. It's just course correction when you realize that you've done it. It's like, oh yeah, no, I don't want to talk to myself like that anymore. We're not doing that anymore. This is how we are now. So this is what we're doing now. And you just reset yourself. It's all good.
yeah. I think sometimes I get caught up in not staying in my own lane, or actually, you know what I mean? So I'll be like doing good, I'll be focusing and all this kinds of stuff. And then sometimes I'll compare myself to another person, imagining that they would be able to do it. And so I'm like, why
Yeah.
can't I do it? You know what I
That's
mean?
bad.
So,
That's
so
really bad.
that's
Don't
not
get into
good.
the comparison game.
I
Yeah.
was driving myself crazy forever thinking for people. I mean, I was literally thinking for people and they were putting me down. No one said anything to me. It, it's just a scary place to be. But that's what
Yeah.
fear will do. That's what fear
Yeah.
will do.
Fear
False
of
evidence
not
appearing
being good
real.
enough. Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
And what I found, what was crazy is when I crossed over into heaven, um, you're two things, and everyone says them, but they're absolutely true. When I got there, I knew that I was returning. It wasn't
Mm.
my first time there. So it's home.
Yeah.
And the other thing was the feeling of absolute love, just
Mm.
everything on fire with love. And I wonder if after we forget that we came from heaven, I don't know when that happens, before we can talk, if we spend the rest of our life trying to find that love again, to find that feeling because we want to be home, because that's the ultimate love. You don't hear a lot of people go to heaven and be like, yeah, send me back right away. They're like, no, I want to stay here. And it's usually, no, you got to
Mm.
go back. You got something else to do.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah,
but it,
that's a great concept.
yeah, I was thinking about that.
Yeah, I
Like,
feel like so for me what I feel, I agree with you. There's home. Like it's
mm,
source, right? It's we are from this space and whatever we want to call that is our own
yep,
individual, attunement to that. So home And then I see it as we can't wait to get here
Mm-hmm.
because this is where it's all juicy. This
Mm-hmm.
is where, like, look, we're a divine being and everything is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
How boring is that?
Right.
We want to come here because we get food and music and relationships and pain and love and acceptance and rejection. Like, we come here for the contrasting experience
Yeah.
to
The
know,
lesson.
yeah. Well, yes, and I don't like
Mm-hmm.
that language because it feels like school.
Adventure.
I like the experience, yeah, to have the
Yeah.
experience of contrast because
Yeah.
I feel like at the core of us, if we are just a divine being, only ever, how do we know we're divine? How
Mm.
do we know that we are pure, holy, divine love if we don't come here for the contrast?
Yeah.
That even our existence is a contrasting experience. Because if
Mm-hmm.
we were only human, how would we know we were human if we didn't have the sense and the knowing or the feeling that we were divine as well? I get chills when I talk about it because I'm like, it's not, everything is just about the contrast of it. How do
Mm-hmm.
you know you love hamburgers and you don't like pizza if you don't have both? You know,
Right.
you've got to have it to go, I like this, I don't like that, and it's in that contrast we know self,
Yeah.
which is ultimately what we're doing when we come away from source, because in source we are of source.
Yeah.
We know everything there. So it's just this like multidimensional awareness of the microcosm and the macrocosm contrast that we just love it here. We don't love
Yeah.
it as the human. It sucks sometimes, but we love it in the macrocosm of the awareness.
Well, I do know that when you cross over, you not only don't feel pain, you don't remember it. It's like it didn't happen. So
Yep.
there's no like concept of don't send me back there or anything like that. Like
Oh,
it's like it's gone when you're in heaven. Like gone,
exactly.
gone. And I've we had a couple people on talk about their near death experiences, and then I ended up going to a lot of meetings for near death experiences, and a lot of them kind of like circulate around the same concept that we're divine beings in a way, and that we actually selected to come down to earth because this is where we learn the most lessons. And yeah, I've also heard that those who are inflicted with the most hardships may have actually selected those hardships before they came down. Now
Well,
I don't know how deep to go on that, but it
I
is
can go there with
interesting.
you. I can go there. I'm
Yeah.
probably the safest, weirdest person to go with because I am super open-minded about everything. I agree with you. I actually feel because let's also, and it's a hard conversation to have, and I mean this with so much respect for somebody that's really struggling, and your knee jerk is like, I did not choose this, and I want to just like, I really hear you and love you and honor you, and I believe that. I believe we choose just about everything. Yes, free will, it reigns in this plane, so we will change our minds and do things, but we choose our parents, we choose like events, we choose we set the stage so
Hmm.
that we can, I don't like the word lesson because I feel like there's no pass or fail. I do think that we want the experience and the knowledge. And
Hmm.
so we want to come here for like, I think of my mom when I talk like this because I'm like, I don't want to admit that I chose her, but dang it, I know
Hmm.
I did. She set me up. She set me up properly to be this person, to be able to help others. I don't
Hmm.
like it as the human. It sucked. It hurt. My human self went through a lot of abuse with her. But I
Hmm.
know in that higher awareness, I know she set this up with me. I know she agreed. I know I agreed. And I think that's where I want to just like reflect back just lots of honor. Like if you're in the humanness and you're in the pain of it, of course, there's no way you would believe you chose that.
Mhm.
But it's in the macrocosm of the all that is, I believe we do.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to talk about with people.
For sure, because when you're the way I like to say it is when you're on fire, you're not taking advice from people. You're just trying to
Oh
put out
my
the
god, that's
fire,
so true.
you know what I mean? Compared to and the person may be trying to help you, you know what I mean? Like, people would come to me a lot, and especially when I was first injured and I was, like, having a tough time, they would talk about finding a new normal. Like
Right.
it was like casually almost. I'm like, I don't want to find a new normal. What are you talking about? You know what I
Sure,
mean? And they
sure,
keep
sure.
telling Kate, my wife, about no normals and like this sort of stuff. I'm like, what are you, how do you know? You know? And yeah, just
I
get
say
kind of,
when you're in the storm, you can't see anything but the storm.
yeah.
So it's not until like I always see like a hurricane. So when you're in the hurricane, you can't see anything but the chaos of the hurricane. And so it's when you're out of it or it passes by and you can like it's time and distance for me. Time
Hmm.
and distance is such a wise teacher. You're like, "Oh, that was that storm. Got it. I'm not there anymore." Right? So
Hmm.
I can see it more clearly. And so I agree with you on that one. It's difficult when you're in the pain of it to recognize that maybe it's for you. Just like with me for burnout. There's no way I wanted to admit that this was a gift. Like
Right.
you can just shut up because I was angry and livid and hurt and broken. But now I think, that was probably the best thing that could have happened to me in my life because where I was headed, my guides told me I was not gonna survive if that didn't intervene.
Hmm.
I was not going to survive. I was going to get sick and be gone. So, yeah, it I can see the gift now because of time and distance.
Yeah. Yeah. It is amazing. Everything comes around full circle. But when you're in it, man, you
Of
just want it
course.
to be over. You're just like, get me out of this. I never want
Yeah.
to talk about it again, that sort of thing. But I can literally, and although it was such a painful process, if I hadn't talked to somebody about what happened to me when I was 5 years old, that was festering in there and I didn't even realize it. And
Yeah.
it had so much power and I hadn't even realized it. You know, I probably became a police officer because of it, because I'm going to help people. You know what I mean? I'm going. My child mind was saying, if I love enough people, if I don't sin, then maybe I'll be able to find my way back into heaven.
Exactly.
So, and I carried that on without really knowing it into my adulthood. And it
Exactly.
was still a transactional process. Have I done enough? Have I done enough? Have I done enough?
That's the core
Uh,
wound, my love. That's the core wound. That's
yeah.
where it starts, is that child is like, "Oh, no, they're saying these things about me, but I don't believe it's true. I better go prove them wrong."
Mhm.
And so we will choose careers and partners and events and things like that to help facilitate that almost a vow, like, "I am gonna prove this wrong. I will show you." And so it
Mhm.
becomes a vow. And we develop that way. And as you said that, that makes total sense to me. Of course you became a police officer. Of course you wanted to protect the innocent and the vulnerable and the ones that couldn't that you weren't protected. So of
Mhm.
course you stepped into that role so that you could be what you needed and didn't have. That's the core wound in play.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, when that stuff happens to you when you're a little kid, you believe it, and, it
Yeah.
was to the point I didn't want my parents to find out, so I was actually running away. Like, I was more tempted to just run from the situation as a 5-year-old than to share it with my parents, who had
Of
only loved me
course.
with their full hearts, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's just I feel that that was a but anyways, I wouldn't take back being shot, which is the craziest statement ever because I
Mm.
wouldn't be where I am now, and I'm way more proud of who I am now because I'm living more authentically, and it suits me more compared
Yeah.
to trying to be in the middle of the pack so you don't get picked off, you know?
Yep.
I'd rather not be part of the pack and just be me, and when I started learning that not that that's okay, first off, And second off, if you're living authentically to yourself, you tend to attract people that are interested in actually you,
Yeah.
compared to the image that you're putting out that they could potentially posture around, or is this person, you know what I mean? It's
Yep.
more of like you'll attract your people, and it's been true. It's been true for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you
yeah.
attract what you are, not what you want.
Oh,
You attract what you are. So if you are living in a mask, trying to prove you're not weak, trying to prove this, trying to prove that, trying to prove that, all you're going to attract is the experiences to help give you more proof that you're not the thing that you're afraid you are.
yeah.
So when you step into authenticity and you want to be honest and you're yeah, I'm flawed and I'm trying and I'm doing my best and some days I'm good or some days are bad, da 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 da. You're being more authentic. That's what you're radiating out into the universe. That's who you're attracting. So you attract what you are, who you be.
I'm gonna ask you a question. I haven't shared this with anyone, but for a long period of time, I think once I got into like eighth grade, um, for some reason, I thought that if I was injured or like severely hurt, that it could also be a way that I work out my penance or whatever.
Mm,
So if I felt pain here on earth, then it would equate to like I'm suffering, and then it would work off the sin kind of deal.
mm-hmm.
And when that came to my mind, I broke my leg freshman year. I did something dumb. I got on top of a car my senior year, and I had a brain bleed. Then I went to college and played lacrosse. I had concussions all over the place. Then I got shot in the head. You know what I mean? It's like it's so weird. Like what
Yeah.
you like think, if I get severely hurt, it'll prove to the world like I'm good.
Yeah. You did that. You did all that with that
Yeah.
dominant and it's in the back, right? It's more in the subconscious maybe rather than a forefront. We do that. That's a dominant belief. And in cognitive behavioral therapy, they say a thought becomes a belief, becomes a behavior. So when you have a thought, hey, if I work off some penance, I'll get to go to heaven. Well, then that's what I believe. And now
Mm,
I'm going to behave as such, which means not that you're actively making choices so that you can get hurt, but the belief turns into a dominating frequency that goes into a law of attraction kind of. You're the radio antenna broadcasting out, "Hey, I need to prove my value, so I need to get hurt." And the universe goes, "Got it. Here you go." Boom, 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 boom. And so it's a responsibility, right? That I don't like that word for people, but it's an accountability to be able to go, "Oh, I see how I was doing that."
mm,
Again, patterns. If I believed that and I'm seeing this pattern of, oh, I think maybe I have a thought that if I get hurt enough, I will have paid off some of my debt.
mm,
Maybe I don't want to believe that anymore. Maybe I want to go ahead because again, it goes into the value game.
yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to prove my value. If you're trying to prove anything, you're going to have to manifest its opposite to give you the experience so you can prove it. So if you're trying to
Um,
prove you're a good person, you're going to keep manifesting bad things happening so that you can persevere. If you have to prove you are a survivor, you're going to have to manifest things coming to try and kill you because
mhm,
you have to prove, and the only way you can prove it is through the victory of it. So you're going to keep
mhm.
manifesting that experience,
Wow.
which is why it's so important to just ask like, where am I trying to prove my value? Maybe I don't need to do that and I just get that I'm valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. This is all hitting home for me,
I know
for
I can
sure.
feel it. I'm just like pausing, breathing, just letting it land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It yeah.
Yeah. We're powerful creators and I think that's really ultimately what I'm bringing home is that we are not victims in this. We're not innocent bystanders. Like we're
Yeah.
here to create. Now what we're creating is important for us. Like, do you like what you're creating? Do
Mm,
you like the experiences, and do you notice patterns that aren't working for you? Because as soon as it's a pattern, that's yours to look at. It's not random victimizing, like, it's not just random. Like, we are the dominant frequency that's pumping into the universe. Hey, I have to prove I'm a good person. Well, we're going to put all these really bad experiences in place and see how you do with it so you can prove
yeah.
you're a good person. Like, it's real. Once you start decoding it, it gets easier. It's like, "Oh, I don't want that. I don't have to do that."
Yeah. Yeah. This has been very enlightening. I
Yeah.
mean, we've gone over quite a bit, and I didn't mean to kind of get my own session here, but it
I love it so
it
much. No, I love it so much. Yeah.
and
It's
it's been
good.
super helpful. We'll have to have you on again because I'm interested about this shadow work too, and how that might be helpful to individuals who are
Yeah.
going through it. You know what I mean? They've
Yeah.
committed, they've gone to the therapy, there's more to do and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, let's get you on here again another
I would
time. It would be
love that.
it,
Shadow work, yum, yum. I would love that.
okay. I am going to send you an email when we're done, and we will start considering when that will happen. It'll probably be in mid-February or something like that. But
Yeah,
I think
anytime.
that could be really helpful
Yeah.
to be, because something that's like opening up to me now is like, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I, how do I say this? Thoughts are powerful, and I don't need to trust my own thoughts all the time. What am
Mm,
I trying to say? It's like your thoughts can be super dangerous. You know what I mean? And if you act on them quickly, and that's a problem with PTSD, you end up like acting on things really fast and you're almost trying
mm,
to grab yourself back for a long period of time.
mhm,
Like I was very calm and all that kind of stuff. And before you knew it, like I got hurt and then ended up getting into altercations with people. You know what I
mhm,
mean? Like where I was trying
mhm.
to set them straight and like this sort of stuff. And it was just a very dominant, like, but I know that's something that was going on inside of me. That wasn't something that you get what I mean? It was
I
like I
do. It's
felt
your fight response. It's trauma, the trauma response of fight. So PTSD is kind of a heightened survivalist because you're in a sympathetic overwhelm. So you're already heightened in fight or flight. So it's going to be a quick
mm,
reaction. That's why. So
and
regulating the nervous system is how, yeah, there's a whole process to that. But of course, that makes sense. That's it. The the immediate, of course you would do that. That makes sense.
okay,
Mhm.
because from it was a lot of like, and I didn't recognize myself when it was happening. I think that happens to a lot
Mhm.
of people when they're going through stuff like that. And I was, I was willing to die on the hills that I was standing on, and they were over nothing,
Yeah, yeah,
and they weren't just I'm going to be right. It's like you're going to explain to me why you're wrong.
yeah,
Like full, and no one, I don't want to be that guy, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, and so you do a lot of this. You're a lot of like,
yeah,
you think you're doing good, life's getting better, and then pow, like something happens and it just
yeah.
gets out of hand. But
It's
as long
all
as we're talking
unresolved.
about it,
Yeah, sorry, it's all unresolved trauma, and the five-year-old in you is not gonna take it anymore, and so the way your PTSD came online was through aggression, because
mm,
that core wound was like, we're not doing this, we're gonna protect." And so it would be a knee-jerk response, but you also don't remember it because it's dissociative as well. So you kinda
mm,
go out of body and you don't remember, and it's this whole sympathetic overwhelm. It's very normal to do that, and it's always the indicator that there's a wound that is unfinished. And so just knowing you and the very short amount of time we've talked today, it's about your five-year-old, and he doesn't wanna be vulnerable anymore, and so it would show up
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely feels in me like I don't know what I'm saying it to, but it's like never again. You know what I mean? It's like
Yep,
this not happening. Like
exactly.
I'm willing to die today. Are you? Just like
Yep.
looking someone right in the face.
It's so
It's a
beautiful when
scary
you
and
see it.
it's exhausting
Mm.
though to live in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it is so exhausting. So if you see that person who's freaking out, have a little sympathy for them, a little grace, because man,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel good. You're not
Yeah.
having a good time. And we've all had these moments, but tend to point at other people while they're having theirs. And,
Yep.
you know, that's not what we're about here. We are about coming together, figuring it out. And I love sharing the silly, dumb, stupid, embarrassing stuff because what happens, you do it a couple times and people will, they grab onto it. They're like, I've
Yeah.
been like that before too. I'm so glad you said that. I've never heard someone say that. And you're like, really? It's because then
Yeah.
now I'm not alone. Like selfishly, this show has done a lot for me because like one of the last things I'll say here, because I'm sure you got stuff to do, but you know, my mom just introduced me to the idea that for a lot of people with trauma, the trauma is almost like a jagged, sharp stone.
Mm.
And you find, and I did it for the longest time, I would run up to people almost and tell them my story, strangers, and I didn't understand why I was doing it. It was so impulsive. It was so like whatever. But my mom brought it to my attention like, what if you're actually taking that jagged stone and every time you're telling the story, you're sort of smoothing it just a little bit. So the
Yeah.
next time it's a little easier to tell. You might catch a snag in another place that you didn't see the last time, but it's going to get smoother and smoother. And you get better at telling the
Mm.
story. You get better at understanding what's important, maybe what's not as important, what could help more people compared to just helping yourself. So it just like it gets smoother and smoother, and you're able to kind of like speak to it like you do.
That's so beautiful. I really love that. I so resonate with that because I do feel healing is in the courage of being able to speak about your experience because in that it alchemizes the shame of us wanting to hide it. And so
Mm,
being brave enough to do the vulnerable talks, to have the vulnerable conversations is exactly that. It for me it takes the sting out of that shame because you're outing it. I'm a big fan of outing myself. Like, let me just tell you the thing that I don't want to tell you. So let's get it over with so I feel better. It alchemizes all of that shame. It can't hold you prisoner anymore because you've
mm,
opened the doors and you're like, here it is. This is what it is. And then you've given other people permission to do it as well. Like, how beautiful is that?
yeah. I heard a quote one time like plant seeds whose shade you never plan to sit under, you
Oh,
know?
beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like I had this experience when I was down here in Atlanta. I was a delivery driver for a while. I couldn't get a job anywhere. And I had my master's, so I was like feeling bad about it and like all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, what am I doing? And I was doing a delivery, and this maintenance guy comes around the corner. He doesn't look like he's doing well. And I'm like, you okay, buddy? And I don't know him at all. And he's like, honestly? And I'm like, yeah, honestly. And he's like, my wife just recently died. And
Mm.
I'm like, I am so sorry, man. And then he started telling me the story of how she was in the hospital and, the cancer, and he was having to work two jobs to, handle it all and all that kind of stuff. And it was one of the few times in the beginning where I was like, may I share a story with you? And he was like, sure. And I told him the story about going to heaven, getting to see my grandma and all that kind of stuff. And now this
Mm.
grown man is crying and hugging me because I'm sharing something that I wouldn't normally share. And I think that's one of the times I was like, so this is important. All right, God. So I see that this is like important and this doesn't really belong. So I started believing it didn't even belong to me anymore. Like it's not
Yeah.
my story. You know what I mean? Like what if
Right.
it's just and because I had so much shame in me. And when I heard that recently, the idea that shame is an identity, I was like, yes, like that makes total sense to me because everything that happens, you're comparing it to your identity. Like,
Yeah.
I am dirty. I am shameful. I am wrong. I am sinful. I need to hide. I shouldn't, be around people. That's more than like, man, I wish I hadn't thrown the baseball through the window, like
Yeah.
it.
Right. I made a mistake versus I'm a horrible person. That's the
Yeah.
difference. Yeah.
And so I'm still kind of recalibrating that. And I
Yeah.
and I'm starting to do a little bit more of like you mentioned that you kind of go, "Oh no, honey," or something like that when
Yeah.
you're redirecting yourself. And
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel it, like that moment
Yeah.
where I'm like, it's okay, you know, and it's
Mhm.
starting to turn to it's okay instead of like, why isn't this working or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, all right. Well, I sure appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Much.
Thank you so much, Cameron. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much. You have a great day, and we will speak soon.
Yep.
Okay.
Deal.
One of the things that Morrighan does so well is put language to experiences that so many of us have lived but never really understood. If this episode helped you see your own story with a little bit more compassion, that is not weakness, that's healing beginning. If this conversation resonated, make sure you subscribe, share it with someone who might be stuck in shame or burnout, and leave a comment below. Your story might be the one thing that helps someone take their next step towards healing. Thank you for being here, and remember, you do not have to survive your shit creek alone.